The Dave Sweetmore Show.
You are listening to Tameside Radio. It is Dave Sweetmore, and I'm delighted to say that joining me today on the show is a great friend of the show, a man who's become a really good friend over the last couple of years, the one and only Lee O'Brien. Lee, how are you doing?
Hello, Dave. Nice to see you, mate. Been a long time. It's good to see you.
It has, mate. It's good to see you as well. We're going to talk about, the last album you brought out and what's going forward and new music you've got coming and stuff like that. First of all, we're going to start by playing a track of yours, a brand new track called I Need You. Tell us, before we play it, a little bit about this track.
Well, in having interviews with you before, it's so difficult to explain what these songs actually mean. It's really difficult. And I always remember Noel Gallagher says he never tells you what they're about. You just got to find out for yourself because it could mean anything. They're very, very personal. So I would just say, listen to the lyrics and make your own mind up. That's what I would say on that.
I remember, I think it was Dave Grohl said something about he can do a gig in front of 200,000 people and the songs mean something different to every single person.
It does. And I could tell you the meanings of them, but I think after the last batch of songs, when some of them, I've said to you before, like on the album This Is Me, I was told, I start off with just a melody and then words just pour out. It isn't till after I look at it and go, it could be that. It's like they just come together. Might not necessarily mean anything. Like This Is Me, for instance. I think I told you this before. When I first wrote that song in my living room, look in the mirror, what can you see? Painting some pictures out to the sea, this is me. It meant nothing, but it just sounded good, But then when the song evolved, it got to where it meant what it meant in the end. So, yeah, I would say it's difficult to say. I would make everyone else make their opinions, I think.
We're going to talk more about the music and This Is Me and going forward as well in a minute. But you are listening to Tameside Radio, and this is Lee O'Brien and one of his brand new tracks. This is I Need You. You are listening to Tameside Radio. It is the Dave Sweetmore Show. That's one of the brand new tracks from Lee O'Brien. It's called I Need You. And we are delighted to say that joining us tonight on the show is a great friend of ours now, Lee O'Brien. Lee, let's talk about, before we talk about the future, let's talk about the last album. This Is Me was a brilliant album. We got right behind it on this show. You did it, of course, with Francis Rossi. He produced it, co-wrote, played a little bit on it. When you look back at that as a debut album, how do you evaluate that now? Were you happy with his success?
Yeah, I mean, listen, firstly, it was never about like chasing the dream and getting success and stuff. Yeah, I did that for years and this is probably, I kicked myself a little bit because I remember in an interview when I come up to Manchester, you said, why did you decide to do it now? And I never see myself doing this sort of stuff. I just sort of wrote songs at home, and because I was a drummer in many bands, and so I sort of left it. But in hindsight, I wish I had, because I always believed there was good songs in me, and I still believe that. So, yeah.
When you look back at the success of that album, you must be really proud.
Very proud, Dave. I mean, to get someone, when I was sending Francis just little tracks via WhatsApp, I don't think he expected it to be as good as they were. And for him to believe in what I was doing, it gave me a massive confidence boost. And then obviously going to his studio, then having to sit in front of him, bearing in mind this guy has been in the business a long time, written hit records, and I'm sitting there with my guitar playing songs that he could just go next, and he didn't. He expected me to just come over there, do a couple of songs, and then I'll be on my way. But where he literally, when Andy Brooke we were there doing a couple of tracks, he was so taken by them. He was like, change this, do this, and he got massively involved. And that's when he literally, took charge. And although he let me have a big say in it, and he's a top producer in his own right, I ain't got the experience to be saying, we should do this, we should do that. I'll let him run with it. But if I had opinions, I would let him know. And we worked, honestly, Dave, we worked so well together. And you can see that there's interviews of us together where we banter between us, and that it was great. It really was great.
I remember talking to Francis about it, and he really, really did believe in your music and that album. And I believe it's something that he was proud to be involved with.
He was, but he has said that we all loved the album, and like you've come when you come across it, you loved it. That was great for me. But he was saying, when I said to him when I was playing it to family members, friends, of course they're going to say it's good, and he's always been like that. So there's a little bit of negativity there because you don't want to be too confident. But his record company showed a massive interest initially, but bearing in mind this was during lockdown, no one was going to sign an unknown artist. So I just, in the end, I just thought, I'm going to just self-release it. It wasn't about chasing the dream. I just want to get the songs out there. And he said to me, listen, you only need one track. If someone picks it up, you never know what can happen. So listen, going forward, I'll just continue to write songs because I love doing it anyway. And if people love it, then brilliant. Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm going to be sending them to you all the time, Dave.
I love it. You keep them coming. So This Is Me, brilliant album. You did a great launch for it at the 100 Club in London. That's out the way now. You know, it was a really big success. We still play tracks off it here on Tameside Radio. Moving forward, the time has come. It's July 2023 and you're sending us new music. Tell us about how your style has perhaps changed over the last couple of years and what we can expect now you're doing this on your own without Francis.
Well, I mean, I learned a lot in that studio working with him, what structure-wise, because as I said to you, I've always been a drummer and a singer, never really produced stuff myself. And these tracks that I'm sending you is solely me. That was yesterday. I played every single instrument on that, so I'm buzzing about that. I don't play bass, but I know what I want, and I can sit there and do it. I honestly believe these are the best songs I've written. A debut album, to have a debut album is good, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet because I'm not like that. You know that. It's a great debut album, but that's over many years. You've got to remember some of them songs date right back. So that's a testament to say if they're on that album in 2021, they must be good songs. Some of them I wrote in 97, Dave. That Don't Need Anyone, One Day, they were written back then. These new tracks, I think I learned a lot from Francis in the studio, massively, how to structure stuff. And yeah, coming away from there, I started writing these during the album that I was doing with Francis. So I'd go home, and then I suppose I was buzzing so much, the guitar came out, and I was coming out with stuff. And I honestly don't know where these three came from because they just fell out. I was young, probably took me 10 to 15 minutes. And then That Was Yesterday, I found the intros different to what I would normally write, where I started off and then I sort of slow it down and then come in on tempo. When I took it into James from SoundLab Studios, he wasn't too sure about what I was doing with that, but he let me go with it and he totally got where I was going with it. And to be honest, it started off as a total ballad, that track. When I actually laid the live drums on it, it just went bang, like a rock. Would I be out of line to say a rock anthem? I don't know, Dave. I don't know where them songs come from because I was worried. I remember writing Strong, and I honestly believed I'd written a hit track. Well, I don't like saying stuff like that, but I just believed it was that good. And then I thought to myself, how am I ever going to top a track like that? Because I believe it's a really good track, but I believe I've blown it out of the water. I really do.
I've been dead excited about the fact you've been sending us new music. We've kept in touch. You've kept us up to date with what you're doing. And one of the new tracks that you've spoke about a lot really fondly is a track called That Was Yesterday. And we're going to play it now. You are listening to Tameside Radio. It is the Dave Sweetmore Show. I'm joined by Lee O'Brien. And this is another new track. This is That Was Yesterday. You are listening to Tameside Radio. It is the Dave Sweetmore Show. That's a brand new track from Lee O'Brien called That Was Yesterday. And Lee is joining us tonight on the show. Lee, you've sent us a few new tracks. We've played two of them up to now. We're going to play another one in a minute. What's the plans? Have we got a new album coming out? Have we got an EP?
I think I spoke to you about this before. When difficult with albums, This Is Me was never supposed to be an album. I initially, it wasn't even meant to be me doing it. I was just I'm going to record some tracks and hopefully get a publishing deal. And then Francis said, when he listened to the tracks, very much a life story, so go ahead and do it. So just going forward, I just think I've got such a belief in the songs that I'm writing, so I'm going to continue writing the stuff. An EP might be the way forward because albums, people don't tend to listen to albums as a rule. Maybe the option is just to put EP out there, just to chuck a single out there, see what people test the water, see what people think. But by sending them to you, it's great that you're playing them and you still believe in what I'm doing, because that's always a thing. When I first sent you those really rough demos, I was absolutely bricking it, thinking, because these are songs that you put your heart and soul into, and you just want someone to say, yeah, they're good. I believe they are. So when I'm waiting for you to reply back to me, go, yeah, I love these, it means so much to me, Dave. It really does.
As well as becoming friends over the last few years, I'm a massive fan of you and your music, and it's brilliant that you're bringing new stuff out as well. What about live dates? With the last album, This Is Me, you did an iconic gig at the 100 Club. What about playing live and getting this music out there live? Can we expect any more live Lee O'Brien dates, or is it more about recording?
Recording, but going back to This Is Me, it needs to be played, because then some of them tracks, it's a great album, and it would be a shame just to not play them. I remember having Ellie Goulding in the cab, and that was before I recorded the album, and she was saying to me, get your guitar and go out and do just some open mic nights, just go and get them out there, just put feeders about. That's in the back of my mind. But I'd love to get a band together around me and go out and actually do it, but that's not easy to do. But acoustically, it's easy. I can just grab my guitar and just go off, because when I did the 100 Club, that was like a real expense because they was all top session players. So yeah, I would love to go and try and do something live, but we'll see. Certainly, acoustically, I could easily go out and do some stuff.
Going forward, the best thing to do if people want to keep up to date with what's going on with Leo Bryan and your music and perhaps some live dates is just follow you across the socials.
Yeah, at Leo Bryan Music on Insta and Facebook, Leo Bryan Music. Yeah, so live stuff. I would like to go out and try and do some. Even my wife Natalie, she's done a little bit of backing vocals on these tracks. So hopefully try and get her out to do some backing vocals with me. So I'm not sitting there on my own.
Next week, you're our Artist of the Week on Local Music Spotlight. Now, when we do this feature, the Local Music Spotlight feature, normally it's a band that perhaps we're not familiar with on the station and introduce new music. Since you released the This Is Me album, we've got right behind it. We've never stopped playing your music. But next week, your music is going to be played from 6 o'clock Monday morning till 7 o'clock Friday night on every single show on the station. How important is it that commercial stations like us get behind new music for artists like yourself?
It's massive, Dave, because again, I didn't expect any of this. Do you know what I mean? So to be able to be speaking to you now and saying that like it's going to be played every day is massive for me. Do you know what I mean? And I really appreciate it. So, you know, I can't thank you enough, really, for believing in the stuff and me, you know. Really
Lee,
can't.
you brought out one of our favourite albums of the last couple of years, This Is Me, which is still available now. For anyone listening that hasn't heard it, I do recommend you check it out. It's brilliant. It's so good to see you back out and about and bringing new music out. This time it's without Francis Rossi producing it. It really is a solo project. And what we're hearing so far, we're absolutely loving. Please keep us up to date with everything what you're doing. You're going to be heard every single day next week on Tameside Radio. We're going to play one more track now called I Was Young. Tell us about this track.
I started writing this again when I was recording with Francis, and it is basically about working with him. Really, I never knew what the future would hold. Now, if you look at if you analyse the very first lyrics, it's about me going in working with Francis. That's basically what it is. Yeah.
I love that. These songs, what we've played today, I Need You, that was yesterday, and I Was Young. Are these songs available now, or when are they going to be available?
I need to speak to James and one of my good friends, Pat Wallace, they're both co-owners at the Sound Lab. I've got to give them a shout out because they're great lads. So I'm going to chat to them and see where we go with it, because them 3 tracks are done. We're working on. I've got another 3 demos. They're not quite right yet, though. I would have sent them to you. They're not quite right yet. These ones are a little bit more up tempo. There's one track. It's a great motoring track, you know, and there's 2 of those that are quite up tempo. At the moment, the demos I've got, I'm not quite there with them, so I can't send them yet.
You've definitely got a little bit of the Francis Rossi perfectionist in you, haven't you, with the music?
Yeah.
I love that.
Obviously, there's sprinkles of Francis all over the album with the guitars, right? I'm not knocking any of it. I think it's brilliant what he's done. This album, you can tell from when I first started writing years ago acoustically what I'm about and the way I style my music. I mean, there is the influences there, the Verve, Oasis. It's definitely there, but you can really, I hope you can see, it's very much Leo Bryan.
Lee, it's been an absolute pleasure as always talking to you. Keep in touch, send me love to Nat and everything, and we'll catch up soon. Leo Bryan is our Artist of the Week next week on Local Music Spotlight. You can hear his last album, This Is Me. It's still available now on all the usual streaming platforms. Keep in touch, Lee. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thanks,
as always.
Mate, appreciate it. Thank you, mate.
And this is another new track of Lee's. It's Leo Bryan on Tameside Radio. This is I Was Young.
The Dave Sweetmore Show.